Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Let me open this random report and let me show you. This is something I'm searching for, custom report. Let me see if there is any report available related to compensation. Like, for example, there are multiple different reports. That can we go with compensation survey variance. The one before this, Benetia. This is something I also populate using the EIB right, where I put the external survey data to compare with our internal right. If you talk about this report, there's a matrix. First of all, how you will review this report. They have grouped it into like executive group. These are the various summarization type that they have mentioned. What is this report type called as matrix? Like how you just find it like this matrix. If you can see, here you have an option of row grouping and column grouping. If you have viewed the graphs right, axis and y-axis. Here we have to go to the next section. What do you want to have in y-axis? What do you want to have? After that you put in like what are the details that you need, right? Based on that you get the reports. They are nothing but. What are the other types of reports you can make other than matrix and Workday? Other than matrix, we have composite, we have standard report, we have advanced report. There are multiple type of reports that is available. That will be super good. If you can explain me like what are the each of the reports are and when and for what I can use them. Talking about those reports, I will give you the brief and basically because see talking about the reporting. This is a separate module. If I talk about like normally as a consultant, I am well versed with advanced reports. I know what like how other reports are and how to use that, but I'm not a reporting consultant. But I can give you a brief like how normally all these reports work, how you'll be able to identify, how you'll be able to manage the access for all these reports, that I can give you a thorough knowledge. That will be amazing because I definitely need that. We can have that in the last time. I will keep a note or you're wanting to. What are we going to discuss in this 1 hour today? Normally, today I was planning to discuss about grades and the pay ranges that you were talking about, right? That was one of the main thing that I wanted to start with, and slowly and gradually, whatever I've shared in the text today, we will be discussing that. Great. And how do you distinguish between the regular compensation with that of the advanced compensation on Workday tool? Because when I go get into menu and when I click on to the compensation, to me everything looks the same. Because I am not a pro in advanced like you. To me, everything looks the same. Because in success factors, it's different. There is nothing like advanced and basic. I just like it throws the report like what you wanted, and how I do it in here. understanding which is advanced and which is like a core compensation thingy. I will brief to that. This is some competition survey variance report that they have created. They are having someone and talking about the advanced competition that you are referring about in your company, right? They are planning to implement that, right? You going to? I don't think like internally you will be expanding that into the advanced competition. There will be some implementation partner or someone from the support side, right? Yes, of course. I have a Workday support team who are doing it from the support side. Like what first of all, we just initiated our talks after our integration last year. This year we plan to have an advanced compensation thingy because we wanted to put forward from next year. As I said before, we never had performance rating and we are going towards the performance rating for our company employees. We are going for a pay for performance culture. We wanted a system where you remember in success factors, we always have something called rating scale where the compensation managers, that is the managers, can rate their employees and that gets populated for us to view. And that, for example, if the person is rated 1, he'll be giving which is like the highest. Out of 1 to 5, if 5 is the least and 1 is the highest, if that person was rated 1 for his annual performance by his manager, he will be giving the maximum merit percentage. The system auto computes based on our simulation matrices that we have. Feed it on the system and success factors. I wanted to understand how I do that in Workday. For example, if I'm launching my performance management for my system, for my company, I wanted to understand how I do it in Workday because I know how it is done in success factors. How I feed the simulation based on my company's performance and based on my company's balance scorecard and individual balance scorecard. I do the simulation and do it in success factors, but I'm not sure like how I do it in Workday. One thing I want to ask, like in Mokti, if I talk about, like you're mentioning about performance, right? Performance is a separate model talented performance. The rating that you talked about, right? Like performance rating, that happens mainly in most of the companies. It happens on a yearly basis and some companies goes on quarterly or every 6 months. Happens in a different way. Right? And depending upon the grading that we get, based on that the compensation, annual compensation increment gets decided. Right. Here in Mokti, what we have is compensation is an entirely different setup that we do. Right. And apart from that, you are talking about the performance related to the grading, like whether the level of grading system that we want to set up it is different. And after that, both gets linked. That's how mainly things work in Workday. I am not sure from the success factor point of view. And success factor was a common platform where both things happens at the same place, or it does happen in the same place. It is, for example, it is not as, what do you say? It is not as clustered like in Workday. It is in a very lineage platform. For example, if I am like a comp administrator, which is my role, and as a comp administrator, I will be able to assess whether my manager has rated my employee right. And I will say like sometimes I override thing like, hey, this is not possible. You are doing a bias analysis and this is the maximum percentage you can throw. If you are rating this person on. As a comp administrator, I have a lineage where I understand my manager is doing something right or something wrong. For example, there are like instances where the manager can give a person a terrible rating of 5 but give him a 10% of increment, which is like sounds nuts. Right? It is impossible. How can a person get a maximum of percentage when he was rated very low? It's technically where I, as an administrator, I have a power to override it. And I just tell the manager like what your rating and your merit matrix percentage you have given. The utilization is wrong. It is going to impact your budget. While I do the annual performance rating. Let's say like the HRBP is involved only to understand the performance rating system is getting accurate, ensuring like every manager rates their employees in a fair amount. That is the HRBP task, but my comp as a compound with the compensation benefits manager. My role comes into play whether the manager who has stated employee has given the right rating. My system is computing the right merit percentage based on the rating given. I just be a data administrator, do my data set sanitization throughout. Wherever it is need of a time preparation or when there is no eligibility rules for certain employees. Say, like an employee is completely on leaves for more than 6 months. And the person loses the eligibility for their annual review performances for that particular year. That is all part of the eligibility rules. And if at all a person is already under the higher comp ratio as a man, as a component, I'll just go back to the manager saying like, hey, this person is already at a higher comp ratio. And on top of that, you're giving a 10% can give a spike on the overall succession planning of this person or or like a long-term career planning for this person in the organization. Could you please utilize your team's budget efficiently? That is where my role comes into play. I just wanted to. I'll get all this data. This can be read in success factors for me directly. And there is nothing like a screen between me and my manager. I will get to know like what he's doing then and therefore his staff, his employees. You get my point, but I'm not sure like how it is done in Workday. That's what I'm telling, right? Like normally we have various types of reports that can be created, like you're mentioning, right? For that, we can create a different reports, and we can track each and everything that we want to. Reporting is the medium by which we track all this information. Exactly. And would I be able to learn in this model? Would I be able to learn how I'm going to do the percentage simulation? For example, if a rating module of 1 to 5 is a rating scale of 1 to 5, as 1 as the least and 5 as the highest, let's keep 1 as the highest and 5 as the least. Let's keep it that way. As a compensation manager, I will say like from the finance, I'm getting some 95 million as a budget. Or like let's take lesser number like 1 crore as a budget to maintain the compensation for the team. And 1 crore is my core budget for which I need to distribute it, along with my 50 employees in my organization who are eligible for an annual appraisal system. And I wanted to give them based on the proration rules that apply till when the performance has started and gauged for those 50 employees. I wanted to understand like how I simulate the percentage, say like how do I define in Workday, saying like for rating 1, this is the maximum percentage I can allocate, how you do that and work. These are the things I wanted to understand. Slowly and gradually, we will start from the basics, right? And we'll come to that. And we will try to cover, or I will try to brief you about like what is the possibility, what can be done. What are the significance of each and every plans or the items that we'll be discussing about. That you will have better understanding, because normally what will happen is, and one more thing I want to understand, like talking about from the implementation side, what is going to be your role over there as a compensation admin? When this project is coming, I was just told, like, you know what, you will be taking care of the advanced compensation integration for the employee thing. Whatever I discussed right now, right? These will be my integration that I'm not able to understand. You already have worked the core system, work the system. There you are going to add on the advanced compensation, right? That's what we are going to do. I'm just having a basic hiccups. Like, will it be more in terms of advanced? We have a basic core compensation thing, what we have, but the thing is, like, we haven't utilized to the fullest. Because of many other compensation, we do not have much, or the compensation which is a part of. Let me show you like what. That will be even more better. Let us discuss from that. You have already gone through the recordings that you've ensured, right? Let me go to the competition tab. This is the competition tab. Mainly if I talk about the basic compensation stuff, right? In compensation, we will have pay ranges. Like if min, median and max of the employee. Mainly if I talk about the pay ranges. Like for every different job profiles, right? We have different pay range. It can be depending upon the location, country. That's how many it is segregated. And sometimes it's based on the business units, job functions, job grades. It's up to us like in which way we want to maintain it. And for because I have seen clients like who maintain a city-wise. There are clients who mentioned country-wise. It depends. It's totally up to the client how they want to manage the job profile pay ranges. Or normally you can call it as a pay ranges. Apart from that, the salary related information. Those are the basic steps that is available. All type of different allowances plan, whether it's the worker is salaried or hourly. These are the basic stuff that is available within that compensation. If you talk about advanced compensation, right? You already have the advanced competition related topics, right? Like if we talk about advanced compensation related topics, right? Like if we talk about advanced compensation related topics, right? Plans, right? For example, we have merit plan, bonus plan, stock plan, or like future payment plan. Apart from that, deferred bonus plan. There are various different plan that is available, right, which comes under advanced compensation. That's what I wanted to learn, because while we had sales compensation quite some time now, we don't want to continue the sales incentive plan any longer. We wanted to have it like a revised plan. While I'm going to put that in Workday, how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to create a new compensation plan or a new incentive plan like a bonus plan or stock plan. How I'm going to do, and how I will be able to understand the availability of share pool that I can distribute for the upcoming employees who are eligible for stock plans. How I do that using Workday. That's what I wanted to do. And one more thing, there is a defaulting rule in compensation. Normally, let's take an example. You created some plan. Let's take an example. You created an allowances plan. You can see merit plan, variable one-time payment allowance plan, salary stock plan. All these plans are available, right? Let's take an example. You created some allowances plan for internet allowances. How for that specific plan, any worker will become automatically eligible. You will not want it might be. There might be a scenario wherein you want that plan only for specific group of employees, not to all employees. Let's take an example. You are giving that plan to managers whenever we are hiring any worker who is a manager, how that plan will automatically pop up during the compensation. That is normally called as defaulting. How normally that is? That is something which we will look into. Let's start from the basic. I'm going to shut my mouth now because I wanted to come like a very open book, like a person who never knew anything. I wanted to learn that way, like unlearning myself and coming to your classes. I wanted you to just teach me like a person who never knew Workday, and you are going to take the ownership of letting her know what is Workday. I wanted to. I wanted you to teach me. That way I get a lot of questions to ask and make it more interactive. First of all, let's see, like in different companies, we have different grading systems, right? Like different companies, they grade the workers in a different way. Let's take an example of this worker, Jacqueline. This is how, mainly for any worker, the compensation will look like. This is the recent update. That is the reason why you are able to see the compensation in this way. If you want to see or hear, this is like Jacqueline is the system administrator. Right of Workday, yes, and she will be able to. If I am the system administrator, I will be in the place of Jacqueline and I will be able to view the entire company's data right in terms of exporting the data. Sorry, I didn't get it. Can you repeat it again? No, I got my answer. Thanks so. See if you see the grade here right. They have graded management. Maybe they have graded into management, non-management, or maybe something else. When we talk about companies, they grade in a different way. Some grade in level A, level B or level 1, level 2, it's completely. Normally how we do that? If I talk about the configuration, normally see talking about you. You will not be doing the hardcore configuration part, but from the basic point of you like how it is done, that whenever the implementation happens or any changes happen, you are well aware. Like how things happen where I have to go and check. I will try to brief you to that level you can do your job easily. Like for example, I want to create a grade. Today we are going to understand about creating compensation grade. Right? That's our topic of the day. Yes, I'm just making a note. That's why I just stopped you. Thanks. Yes, over to you, please. I'm not able to hear you, Raj. No, I'm not saying anything for now. This is the effective date. Whenever you create any grade, we have to give an effective date since when this grade is applicable or since when this grade we want to be available in the system. This can be based on the promotion of the effective date of the grade or the hiring of the employee. That can be the effective date, right, or the date of the promotion. Let's not compare it with any worker or anything. Since when I want this grade to be available in the system, it's about that. It's like a job itself. I can grade it as Zerlune 1900 as well. It is not going to have any impact. Here we have pay rate segment. Normally. And here we have to define it like in how many segments we want to have. For example, I have a range of 0 to 100. The 0 to 100 in how many segments I want to divide. Like for example, if I divide into 4 parts, it will be 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 100. It will be 4 segments. If in case I want to have it in a 3-way, 3 segments, I can define it 3, 2. It's up to us. Normally talking about the clients majorly, they follow or they have 4 segments. Here we have a checkbox of use grade profiles. What is the meaning of this? Normally, let's say here the pairings is like mostly like 50th percentile, 20, 10, 20, like 10, 50, 70 and 90. That is the 4 ranges. You're like min, median and max and stretch. That's what you're saying, right? Yes. After that, here we have an option of use grade profiles. What is the meaning of this? Normally this grade profile states, let's take an example I want to. I'm creating different grades and my company is located into multiple countries. Let's take an example. I have a grade of management. Within management, I will have workers of different countries within that grade, right? Let's take an example. I have a worker who is located in United States. There is another worker who is located in Netherlands. The pay range will be different. For US worker, it will be in dollars, US dollars. For Netherlands worker, it will be in Europe. Right? There is a difference. How I will define the range. This competition grade that we are creating, this is one of the main reason is to define the pay ranges. Depending upon the grading system that we are defining. Normally, you might be already aware, right? Like with different grades, the pay range that comes into picture is different, right? If in case, let's take another example, my company is located only in United States or only in one specific country, I do not need to use this grade profiles. Technically, what you said is like while I do the salary bands, right? I used to do this where I use a grade profile to profile my employees' job grade based on the geographical location, a person who are already. For example, I have a location in India and I also have it in Germany. If that is the case, if I put the use grade profiles, the system automatically the work. They automatically computes and gives us the pay range for India employees itself based on India pay ranges and for Germany employees based on the Germany pay ranges. Am I right? Correct. Let me show you how it happens. I am going to use the grade profiles. When I will use the grade profiles, I have to give a grade name. You can tell me whatever name. Let's say like professional, professional you. Anything else? Professional support, your grade name is like the employee's name you are mentioning. Or great. Like management, non-management, anything that. That's what there are like management, professional expert and support. Let me do it as expert better. I'm using my name. Initially, I can find my grade name because this is a practice tenant. Right? There might be different one that might be available. D. You can brief any description if you want to have with respect to this grade name. That is for a reference purpose. I have a question. Sorry to interrupt, just I'm a bit curious. In my organization, we had job grades and in certain point, we wanted to create job catalogs where we got new expansion of business, say like we got a global expansion of our business and these particular jobs are not already there in our existing job profile or existing job architecture module. We wanted to create a new job profile called, say, like a job position called Chief Growth Officer. Let's keep that way because we have one which is, I feel that is unrealistic. But this is an organization need to have a Chief Growth Officer, and for him I need to create a job grading. I will use this technique. What you are doing right now, right, to create the job grade. Yes, for example, if in case there is already a grade that you already have been using and you want to make that new job profile a part, well and good, you can do that. How to link the profile with the grade? I will show you. Once I done have a new grade for some group of people and you want to have a separate job profiles and introduce that, that is also feasible. You can do whatever you want. Let's take an example. For that chief growth official that you mentioned, I want to create a new grade which is not available as of now, and I want to keep that person in the expert grade. Basic element I will use as a base eligibility rules. What is our base pay? What did you say? While you click the base pay, there were other list of base practice talent randomly multiple. Sorry, I got confused. Sorry. This eligibility rules. Normally we have to define, like talking about this expert right, which people will come under this grade. We have to define that eligibility. If in case I don't want to define here the eligibility, there might be a reason I don't know exactly like which group of people I want to keep here. I will keep this as black, but how to define this to any specific worker? You gave me an example. Like, let's take an example. I am creating this grade right for Chief Growth Officer and maybe some other people that I will be hiring in the future whose job profile I even don't know right now. In forecasting manner, I will not pretty much clear like regarding which people will be eligible for this right. We'll keep this blank. Yes, that is one of the reasons why this is not mandatory. Got. And I will use the currency as USD. We can take anything frequency. Let's take the frequency as monthly because normally the pay ranges that we define for most of the countries, like it's mainly annual only. Here we have a minimum and maximum. Normally, if in case I do not use this great profile checkbox that you saw before, right, I would not have this option. Got this tab. Just because you use grade profiles, it created another tab like composition grade profile. Let's take an example. If let's assume like I did it, you check that box, this tab will be available and I can define the eligibility rule here. I cannot define that and I can mention the minimum maximum period for this specific grade. Now I have used this grade profiles. Now I will have the options available in a different way. Let's see how normally we utilize this. Let's take an example. I want to define this as expert. You can name it anything. In USA. Let's take an example. I have it in multiple countries. One is in USA, another one is in Canada or vice versa. I will define the base payment here as the same as base pay. You can see like hope base pay. Some people have created randomly and they're using their own here. I have question like, shall I mention the grade profile description with a job description here. Will that make sense? Job description meaning, for example, for Chief Growth Officer, the job's description like what this person will be doing and what does you. That is not to be done here. If you want to write anything with respect to this expert in US, you can. That you can put here. Expert is more like subject matter expert role. You can mention as SME, SME. You can mention something like SME level in USA. You can mention this description, the description that you referred. It is related to job profile specific. That is something that you will teach me also, right? Yes, here we have eligibility rules. Here eligibility rules become important because I do not have workers who are in expert level. I do not know, but I have to define like this is eligible for only US people. I have to use eligibility rule wherein this triggers only for workers who are in United States. For that I have to create an eligibility rule. The task is create eligibility rule. There are different type of eligibility rules used, like for example for benefits related. It's a benefit for compensation. We have compensation eligibility. We will be using the compensation one because this eligibility rule we are creating for compensation, right? We will choose the correct task. Let's take an example I can mention here. I am just giving my name initial Raj expert for USA. I will use the filter condition as country. Because I want to create an eligibility rule for country USA. Remember one thing whenever you are creating any eligibility rule, these are the fields that is available. The symbol that you see here, it defines like these fields are Workday delivered. This field that you see, there is no symbol available. These are customized custom ones which someone might have created. To verify, you can go to this related actions button. You can see this field source is nothing but Workday delivered. And if you could you just tab in for the one that is custom delivered? There will be nothing. You can see someone might have given some name and created it. You can go and read the description once for getting a better idea. When there is a primary location returns country or primary location means if someone had any location, it will give the country wherein that location is available. Wonderful, I can choose this relation operators. There are different options. That is available is empty, is not empty. None in the selection list. I want to use like whatever country is available in the selection list. I will search here United States. Here you will have the list, whether you have selected field or not. You can cross verify here in the results section, whether you are getting your desired result that you are expecting or not. Our eligibility rule is created. I will use here. I will select my eligibility rule currency. This is for us. It will be SD. Frequency is going to be annual. Here I can. I am randomly defining a pair of, let's take an example of 250,000 to 400,000. We'll use this checkbox that it will auto calculate all the values. It will auto calculate. You are giving the min and the maximum range and it will give you the median and next ranges. What is the percentage? It usually calculates between minimum and segment and which is the stretch. Yes, what would be the midpoint here? At what percentage of midpoint it has calculated? You can see it has calculated 3 to 25 as its midpoint, which is the segment 3 maximum. Whatever the midpoint we have within this, it will calculate here. Let's say in this the 287 is the min and 325, which is the second column, is naturally the segment 2, which is the midpoint, and the max is 3062 and the stretch is 400. Right? That's what is the segment. And my question is, usually I calibrate it based on, for example, when I'm doing the midpoint progression, the range progressions, range penetrations, right from min to midpoint and from midpoint to max. Usually I used to have, for example, for export level, we keep like 30% of increase from one level to another level, where from min to max it will be the base of like the range penetration will be like 10%. But the midpoint progression from one level to another level, say like L1, L2, L3. These are the job grades right from L1 to L2 level. There will be 30% of difference of their salary, which is the midpoint progression. But however, the minimum to medium of the L1 job level, say like for this Raja expert, it's like 287 to 325. What is the percentage it has calculated automatically? Just to give you an idea, right? I think you're understanding it incorrectly. This is the pairings that I have for this specific grade profile. You're mixing up with multiple grade profilers L1, 2. You want to have a 30% difference between L1 and L2, let's with an expert. This expert is one level that you have. Right in one level. Let's say expert is an L1 level, expert is an level level. Let's say like L3 is the least and LL1 is the highest. Let's say expert is an L1. What is the? My question is simpler from min to segment 1 top right. What is the percentage difference it has calculated? What is the percentage difference it has calculated that made it show like 325 is the next percentage of value? Can you scroll down? My question is very simple. From 2D50 or how on what percentage it made the system to compute 287 500. On what percentage? Should we feed the percentage or the system auto calibrates? That time question auto calculates, and if it auto calibrates, on how many percentage of weightages it do? And do I have leverage to adjust the weightages and adjustments? You do not have any leverage in doing this. You have another option like you have seen already. Right? We have selected 4 segments. Right? You can reduce the number of segments. Mainly in this segment. What it does is it divides equally. You are asking about this 3 to 5, right? This 3 to 8. How did you calibrate from 2 to 50? If you put it this, 325 is the midpoint of whatever minimum and maximum value that you are defining. I have defined 2 to 50 as the minimum. I have defined 400 as the maximum. If you see the midpoint of this minimum and maximum is nothing but 325, I get that calculation. My question is, usually we have something called undercompensation. While we determine the min and the max and the midpoint we usually determine, there is a phase where we do weightage and adjustments while we price a job. What you are doing here is you say in the Workday topic. It sounds like you are creating a compensation grid. For me, it is like a typical job pricing which I use in Pay Factors, which is another application I use just like Workday when I am doing the pricing of the job. 2FT is my minimum and maximum is 400. To calibrate, I don't want a 325. And I know like this is about the say, like it is like 75th percentile for this particular expert level in the market. which my company is not going to afford, and its midpoint is 50th percentile, right with that of the markets. I always have a weightage and adjustment. Say like I will say like you have put 10%. Let's keep that. It is keeping a 10% variance, right? Now I put it as you want me to put 10%. If you put it as a percentage, will it calibrate as a percentage? No, it will not. Like whatever minimum and whatever maximum you have put in, right? It will segregate equally into 4 parts. It will divide the minimum and maximum into 4 segments. That's it doesn't. I'm keeping it simple. Whatever you put in, it calibrates into 4 parts, correct. On what? On what percentage of value? Like, for example, let's say you are given one cake, you are asked to give it into 4 segments. You are cutting the cake into quarter. 4 quarters is equal to 1 cake, which is like, I'm really bad in math, help me. If it is like, let's say like 20%, like 5 slices of the cake, which is 20% each, will give you 100% of one cake, right? You are expecting, you have put a min and a maximum, say like 250 as a min and a maximum as 400. What is the percentage of each of the segment it has taken? That's the question I'm asking, because here the system is auto-calibrating. My question is that and that scenario, I have to calculate the percentage. Then only I'll be able to tell you, because normally I will tell you normally the percentage by whatever amount it is calculating. I'm not sure, but one thing I can tell you, like regarding this segment, the application is to use. Let's take an example. For example, you are hiring someone, right? This is just as a reference, like there is no usage with respect to anything else. This just give you an idea, like for this specific job profile within which pay range I have to hire someone. My question arises second time. There is no relation in between the percentage increase or the dividing that it is doing. There is no relationship with that. Why I'm bringing the relationship here is because, while I'm going to give you the pay range here, right? Like 2 to 50, say like my company is going to pay a GO at 2 to 50 range, which is a minimum of a market. This is an internal survey, the internal pay range of my company. Say like Cloud is my company, Cloud's company's pay range starts from 250 to 400. But when I am as a compensation manager, I am going to assess whether you are able to pay, or are we paying extra or minimal for the CGO. That's why I read the survey reports from Ahn or Towers Watson to understand the percentage variance. How well? In that case, I will be comparing the range of 250 to 400 of this particular job level to that particular job grade. For example, it's expert here for a similar expert level. What is the market paying for the expert level? I will be computing it. This is you meant to say. This is like a vague range for our basic reference, only right. Anyway, in future, if I export the salary survey report, like say like I am getting the annual survey report from Radford and I am uploading that data in Workday, right? The system. The Workday data will give me the calibration and comparison between my internal range 250 to 400 with that of the market range which I uploaded, which can be 300 to 600. It will give you a comparison. That's what? That's the question I wanted. That's the answer I wanted. Thank you. Sorry, I might be a really tough learner. And normally this pair range will reflect. Let's take an example. I'm hiring an expert level guy in US, When I will be hiring anyone of that specific job profile at that point of time, the pay that will reflect to me, it will be the same 250 to 400,000. This mid-segment values will not reflect. This is only our internal company guideline values, correct? It is not compared with, and that's why I have an import range where I import the market data from my internal calibration, and every annual I redo my pay range, like I clean up my pay ranges and I develop it, keeping the reference point of my survey data. Normally what kind of request we get is like, normally there are clients right like who has around, and they will have their own respective grading system and everything right. Normally there are multiple third parties that is available in the market from where they get the real-time pay ranges location wise right. They want to be in sync with that, and at the same time they have to look into, like in the current one, like whatever the pay ranges that is available, right, whether everything is in place. It should not be like, let's take an example, this expert level. I have a range of 250 to 400,000 and I am having workers of expert level in 240 or 410 right above the range or below the period. That again comes into picture. For avoiding that scenarios also, there are multiple setup that is available, like having validation, like if anyone is going above or below, there should be a proper justification. That should be there. That will be amazing. Yes, now we have created a date and range and we use the grade profiles and we are creating the yes, like that was something which I did for one location, right? There will be multiple locations. There are clients who are located in tens or hundreds of locations, right? Yes. Normally in that scenario, what will happen if, in case I have this grade that I am going to use for multiple locations, I can add multiple countries. This is the option and the currency will be different. For example, I am going to create this compensation grade for European market. I can add all the 27 countries here, correct? If it is like you can have different ranges, for example, let's take Benelux as an example. I will be able to add Belgium as a country and keeping the currency for each of the edition. I have to fill in all the eligible rules like the same eligibility rules I have created. Right? It's just going to be repetitive but with different country names. Right? This was about compensation grades. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.